In the quiet countryside, far from towns and roads, ancient farmers awoke to the soft, pale light of dawn. The day began slowly. Darkness faded to grey, then to gentle morning light. Outside, the fields were covered with dew, calm and still. There were no clocks, no alarms, only the rhythm of the sun, and the land marked the passing of time. The farmhouse was simple. Walls of clay, wood, or stone offered shelter, but little comfort. Floors were packed earth or rough boards. Beds were straw or hay, sometimes covered with coarse wool or linen. The faint smell of smoke lingered from the hearth. Function mattered more than luxury. Breakfast was modest. Coarse bread made from barley or rye, or thick porridge cooked slowly over the fire. The taste was plain, but it was filling, giving strength for the day ahead. Clothing was simple and practical. Wool in winter, linen in summer. Shoes were sturdy, colors muted, gray, brown, or faded blue. Everything was made to last. Stepping outside, the farmer faced the fields. Tools were gathered: wooden plow, hoe, sickle. Each was heavy, simple, and essential. The land awaited attention. Step by step, the farmer walked across the fields, carrying seeds or water. Each movement was deliberate, repeated countless times. Slow, steady, unhurried. Animals required care first thing. Chickens scratched at the soil. Sheep wandered in meadows. Cows and goats waited for feeding. Water was carried from wells or streams. Buckets were filled and carried back, step by step, trip after trip. Every action was repeated, day after day, with quiet patience. By mid-morning, the farmer began sowing seeds. Each handful was scattered carefully across the furrows. Step, scatter, step. Row after row, the land was covered in tiny grains. The motion was slow, meditative, almost hypnotic. Hours passed in quiet, repetitive work. Children learned the same routines. Boys carried water, herded animals, or helped with light tasks. Girls assisted mothers, grinding grain, spinning wool, or preparing meals. Every task was repeated slowly, learned through observation and imitation. Step by step, year after year, these routines became part of life. By late morning, attention returned fully to the land. Weeding, checking seedlings, repairing fences, moving animals quietly through pastures. Each task repeated, deliberate and slow. Every day followed the same pattern, and tomorrow would continue in the same gentle rhythm. The morning passed quietly, full of simple, repeated tasks. Light grew brighter, shadows lengthened softly, and the calm, steady life of the ancient farmer moved on, slow and unhurried, at the pace of the land itself. Spring arrived slowly, quietly, bringing longer days and softer light. The frost melted, leaving the soil ready for planting. The farmer stepped outside each morning, carrying seeds in a simple bag. Step by step, the land waited, calm and still, ready to receive the tiny grains that would become the harvest. The soil had been plowed carefully, furrow by furrow. Wooden plows, pulled by oxen, cut slow lines into the earth. The farmer followed behind, ensuring each furrow was straight and even. Every movement repeated steadily, methodically, without hurry. There was no rush. The work demanded patience and care, Sowing was slow and deliberate. Each handful of seeds was scattered across the prepared soil. Reach, scatter, step. Reach, scatter, step. Row after row, the field was covered in tiny grains. The farmer's hands grew tired, but the rhythm was steady and calming. Hours passed quietly, the work unchanging but necessary. As the seeds were sown, the farmer moved on to the young shoots that had already begun to grow. Weeding was careful and repetitive. Each weed pulled by hand, each seedling inspected, day after day. Attention to detail ensured the crops would thrive. The work was repetitive, slow, and almost meditative. Animals required attention as well. Chickens pecked in the yard, goats grazed in the meadows, cows waited for milking. Buckets of water were carried from wells or streams, step by step, trip after trip. The same movements repeated, quietly, steadily, without change. Children assisted in small ways. Boys carried water, helped move animals, or cleared paths. Girls assisted mothers, grinding grain or preparing meals. Every task was learned through repetition, quietly absorbed and performed step by step. This slow learning became part of their lives, just as the rhythm of the seasons became part of the farmers. By midday, the farmer paused for a simple meal. Bread, perhaps a little cheese or porridge, and water were enough to restore energy. There was no hurry, no excitement, only calm and the predictable passage of the day. The afternoon returned to the fields. Step by step, row by row, seeds were checked, soil inspected, weeds removed. Tools were repaired when needed. Fences were mended. Each action repeated, deliberate and slow. Every day mirrored the one before, each movement steady, gentle, and unhurried. As the sun dipped lower, the light turned warm and soft. Shadows stretched across the fields. The work of sowing and tending paused for the evening. The farmer returned to the simple farmhouse, carrying water and tending animals one last time. The day had been long, repetitive, and steady. Sleep would come easily, for the rhythm of life continued without change. And tomorrow would bring the same slow, calm routine. Summer arrived with longer days and warmer light. The crops had begun to grow, and the fields were filled with soft green shoots, stretching slowly toward the sun. Each day, the farmer walked among them, inspecting every row, bending low to remove weeds or gently straighten the taller plants. Step by step, the work was repeated, quiet, calm, and steady. The animals required constant care. Goats and sheep grazed slowly in the meadows, while cows were milked each morning and evening. Chickens scratched the soil in the yard, searching for seeds or insects. Water had to be carried from wells or streams. Buckets were filled and carried back, trip after trip. Every movement was deliberate, repeated, and necessary. The rhythm of these tasks moved slowly, unhurried, and almost meditative. Tools were checked and maintained. Wooden plows, hoes, and sickles were repaired carefully. Handles were smoothed, edges sharpened. Step by step, each tool was prepared for work in the fields. The motions were repetitive, steady, and necessary for the long days ahead. Children learned by watching and helping. Boys followed their fathers into the fields, carrying water, herding animals, or clearing paths. Girls assisted their mothers, grinding grain or spinning wool. Every task was repeated slowly, quietly absorbed, and learned through repetition. Step by step, each child became part of the rhythm of farm life, just as the crops and animals were. Meals were simple, taken at small intervals. Bread, porridge, a little cheese, or legumes. Nothing extravagant, only what was needed to sustain energy. The taste was plain, but filling. Eating was quiet, calm, and deliberate, a pause in the continuous rhythm of work. The sun moved across the sky slowly, stretching the day long into the afternoon. The farmer's back grew tired, hands roughened from the repeated tasks. Yet the work continued. Watering, weeding, repairing fences. Moving animals, each task mirrored the one before. There was no hurry, no excitement, only slow, steady work repeated day after day. As evening approached, the sun turned golden, casting long shadows across the fields. The animals were gathered and secured for the night. Tools were cleaned and stored. The farmer returned to the farmhouse, tired but calm, moving slowly with the fading light. The day ended quietly near the hearth. Simple meals were eaten, tools checked one last time, and chores finished. The world outside grew still. Shadows flickered softly, and the farmer lay down on straw bedding. Sleep came easily, deep and undisturbed. Tomorrow would follow the same gentle rhythm. Step by step, task by task, the slow, steady life of the farmer continued. When summer passed and the days grew shorter, the golden fields signaled the time of harvest. The crops were ready. Grain swayed gently in the warm breeze, tall and heavy, waiting to be cut. Each morning, the farmer rose early, carrying a sickle and a small bag to gather the yield. Step by step, row by row, the work began. The act of cutting was slow and deliberate. Bend, cut, gather. Bend, cut, gather. Each stalk was handled carefully. Bundles were tied together and carried to a central area for threshing. The rhythm repeated over and over, each motion steady and calm, never rushed. Hours passed with little change in the scenery, yet every movement was necessary for the harvest to succeed. Threshing followed the cutting. The farmer struck the grain with a flail, separating kernels from stalks. Strike, lift, strike, lift. The motion was continuous, methodical, and almost hypnotic. Each bundle was treated the same way, ensuring nothing was wasted. The sound of flails echoed softly across the fields, a steady rhythm marking the passage of time. Animals helped in small ways. Oxen carried heavier bundles. Goats wandered nearby. Chickens scratched at fallen seeds. Each creature moved slowly, calmly, part of the unhurried rhythm of the farm. Water was fetched repeatedly, step by step, keeping both people and animals sustained. Children assisted where they could. Boys helped carry lighter bundles or watched over the smaller animals. Girls prepared simple meals or organized gathered grains. Every action was repeated, observed, and learned slowly, becoming part of the natural cycle of life on the farm. Meals were brief and plain. Bread, porridge, a little cheese, or legumes. Eating was quiet, calm, a pause in the constant repetition of tasks. The taste mattered little. Energy and endurance were the true necessities. Afternoons were long. Sunlight warmed the fields, casting gentle shadows across the harvested crops. The farmer's back grew sore, hands roughened, but the rhythm continued. Each motion mirrored the last, unhurried, steady, and necessary. The work could be exhausting, yet there was comfort in its predictability. As the sun sank toward the horizon, the day's labor slowed. Tools were cleaned, animals gathered, and the last bundles carried into storage. Shadows lengthened, and the warm glow of evening settled over the farmhouse. The hearth offered quiet comfort. The farmer ate simply, checked tools, and tended small chores. Outside, night was calm and silent. Finally, the farmer lay down on straw bedding. The day had been long, repetitive, and slow, but sleep arrived easily. Tomorrow would follow the same pattern, steady and unhurried. As the rhythm of life continued across the fields and generations of farmers. When the harvest ended, autumn arrived slowly, painting the countryside in muted golds and browns. The fields were quieter now, the tall stalks gone, replaced by empty rows ready to rest. The farmer turned attention to storing the crops and preparing for the colder months ahead. Grain was gathered carefully and placed into sacks or wooden bins. Each step, each movement, repeated steadily. Bundles of straw were stacked, roots and vegetables dug from the soil and stored for winter. The work was slow and methodical, requiring patience and attention to detail. Step by step, the farmer moved across the land, handling each item with care. Firewood was collected from nearby forests or hedgerows. Branches were cut, chopped, and stacked neatly to dry. Each piece placed deliberately, one by one, until a tidy pile stood ready for the long, cold nights. The same motions repeated over hours and days, steady and calm, without rush or complaint. Fences and buildings needed repairs. Wooden posts were checked, simple roofs patched, gates reinforced. Each nail, each beam, handled carefully. The work was repetitive but necessary. Repetition became comforting, a rhythm marking the slow passing of time. Animals required daily attention. Chickens, goats, sheep, and cows still needed feeding and water. Trips to wells and streams were repeated, step by step. Each day mirrored the last, the tasks predictable and steady. The calm repetition became a part of life, unchanging and familiar. Children continued to learn and assist. Boys carried water, tended smaller animals, or helped with light repairs. Girls assisted mothers, grinding grain, sorting vegetables, or preparing simple meals. Every task was repeated slowly, quietly absorbed, and learned through repetition. Step by step, day after day, the children became part of the rhythm of farm life. Meals remained plain and simple. Bread, porridge, legumes, a little cheese. Eating was calm, deliberate, and functional. A pause in the steady flow of work. Flavor mattered little. Nourishment and energy were the purpose. The sun moved slowly across the sky, shortening the hours of light. Work continued steadily, each task performed with care, each motion deliberate. There was no hurry, only the gentle, predictable rhythm of life on the farm. As evening fell, the last chores were done. Animals were gathered, tools cleaned and stored, and firewood prepared for the night. The farmhouse grew quiet. The farmer tended the hearth, finishing small chores, and then lay down on straw bedding. Sleep arrived easily, undisturbed, as the rhythm of farm life carried forward into the next day. Autumn brought calm and preparation. The harvest was secured, and the land rested, ready for winter. Life continued steadily, slowly, quietly, repeating its patterns across fields, homes, and generations of farmers. Winter arrived quietly, covering the land in frost and chill. Days were short, and sunlight was pale and weak. The fields lay bare, resting from the labor of the year. Yet life on the farm continued, steady, calm, and necessary. Each day followed a predictable rhythm. The farmer began mornings as always, rising from straw bedding to the soft, grey light of dawn. Animals still needed care. Chickens scratched in the yard. Sheep and goats wandered the meadows. Cows awaited milking. Buckets of water were carried from wells or streams, step by step, trip after trip. Even in cold, the rhythm of repeated tasks was steady and comforting. Meals were simple but nourishing. Bread, porridge, legumes, a little cheese. Nothing fancy, but enough to sustain the body through the long, chilly days. Food was eaten slowly, deliberately, a calm pause between the repetitive tasks that filled the hours. Clothing kept the farmer warm. Wool tunics, thick socks, and sturdy shoes protected from frost. Each piece patched and mended carefully. Tools were inspected and repaired, wooden handles smoothed, edges sharpened. Step by step, task by task, the day passed steadily, quietly, and unhurriedly. Children continued to learn. Boys helped carry water, fed animals, or cleared snow from paths. Girls assisted mothers, grinding grain, spinning wool, or preparing meals. Every task repeated, slowly absorbed, and quietly learned. Year by year, these simple lessons became part of life. The afternoon moved slowly. Cold sunlight reflected off frost-covered fields. The farmer moved through quiet chores, stacking firewood, repairing fences, tending animals. Step by step, each action mirrored the last. Repetition marked the rhythm of the day. There was no hurry, only calm, steady work repeated without change. Evenings were long and quiet. The fire in the hearth cast a gentle glow, flickering softly on walls of clay or wood. Conversations were minimal, calm, deliberate. Meals were taken, chores completed, and the farmhouse grew still. Outside, night settled slowly over the land, dark and silent. Finally, the farmer lay down on straw bedding, body tired from repetition, yet mind calm from the steady rhythm of work. Sleep arrived easily, uninterrupted. Tomorrow would follow the same pattern, feeding animals, tending chores, repeating each slow, deliberate motion. Life moves steadily, quietly, as it had for generations. Winter brought long, calm days and the gentle rhythm of repetition. Each task, each step repeated slowly, allowing the farmer, the family, and the land to continue together in peaceful, unhurried harmony. Life on the farm was not only about crops and animals. Family was central to the slow rhythm of each day. Children learned from watching and helping, their small hands imitating the movements of their parents. Every step, every motion was repeated, absorbed, and remembered. Boys often accompanied their fathers into the fields. They carried water, guided animals, or helped with lighter tools. Step by step, they learned the patterns of planting, tending, and harvesting. Every repeated task became familiar, steady, and calming. Each day offered the same lessons, delivered slowly and without hurry. Girls assisted their mothers in the farmhouse. Grain was ground slowly, turning the stones over and over. Wool was spun carefully, thread by thread. Meals were prepared simply. Bread kneaded and baked. Porridge stirred slowly. Vegetables sorted and stored. Each motion repeated day after day, becoming part of a steady rhythm. Families ate together at calm intervals. Meals were simple: bread, cheese, porridge, legumes. Eating was deliberate, slow, and quiet. Conversations were minimal, often about chores, animals, or the weather. The repetition and predictability of each meal brought a quiet comfort, linking the family to the land and the slow rhythm of farm life. Evenings were spent together near the hearth. Fires crackled gently, casting soft shadows across the walls. Children practiced tasks under the guidance of parents. Boys checked water containers or mended simple tools, while girls continued spinning or preparing small chores for the next day. Every motion repeated, steady, unhurried. Work and play often blended in subtle ways. Small animals wandered nearby, and children learned to care for them while moving through chores. Tasks were always slow, deliberate, and necessary, reinforcing patience and quiet observation. Through repetition, children became capable and confident, their steps echoing the steady rhythm of the adults around them. Simple festivals and rest days punctuated the rhythm of life. Though they did not disrupt it entirely, occasionally the family gathered to celebrate a small occasion, share stories, or enjoy slightly richer food. Yet even these moments were calm and measured, blending seamlessly back into the routine of work, tending, and care. As night fell, the family completed the final chores. Animals were gathered, tools stored, firewood stacked. The farmhouse grew quiet. Children lay down on straw bedding, parents beside them, and sleep arrived steadily and easily. The repetition of daily life provided comfort. Tomorrow would bring the same slow, predictable cycle: morning chores, tending animals, household tasks, and quiet meals. Family life intertwined with work, seasons, and land. Every task repeated, every lesson absorbed slowly. The rhythm of generations moved gently through the farmhouse, across the fields, and through the hearts of children learning to follow the same steady, unhurried pace of the farm. Even in the quiet, steady life of the farm, there were occasional days of rest and small celebrations. Festivals were rare, but gentle interruptions in the slow rhythm of work. They offered brief moments of joy, yet even these were calm, measured, and deliberate. When a festival approached, preparations were simple. Extra bread might be baked, vegetables sorted carefully, or a small dish of cheese set aside. Children helped, repeating familiar tasks slowly, carefully, learning that even special days followed patterns. The motions were the same as ordinary days, but slightly richer, slightly more deliberate. On festival days, the family might gather outdoors. Neighbors or relatives could visit quietly. Conversations were soft, laughter subdued. Music, if it occurred, was gentle and rhythmic. Dances were slow, steady steps in small circles. Every movement repeated, every sound measured. The celebration was a quiet echo of the regular rhythms of life. Meals were slightly more abundant. Bread remained central, but legumes, porridge, and occasionally a small treat added variety. Eating was still calm, deliberate, and unhurried. The family shared stories, retelling simple tales passed from one generation to the next. Words were spoken slowly, each sentence measured, reinforcing the sense of quiet continuity. Even during these small festivals, the land and animals required care. Chickens were fed, goats guided, cows milked. Tasks were repeated, blending seamlessly with the brief pauses for celebration. The rhythm of work and rest intertwined. Every action flowed slowly, predictably, forming a continuous loop of care, observation, and repetition. Children watched and participated, learning that even special occasions followed a pattern. They carried small bundles of firewood, stirred porridge, or assisted in simple chores. Step by step, motion by motion, they absorbed the quiet rhythm of farm life. Festivals became part of the routine, measured, calm, and unhurried. As the sun lowered, the day drew to a gentle close. The family gathered near the hearth. Firelight flickered softly, shadows stretching across walls of clay or wood. Conversations ended, tools were cleaned, and animals were secured. The farmhouse returned to its calm, ordinary pace. Finally, the family lay down on straw bedding. Sleep came steadily, easily, a natural continuation of the rhythm of day and night. Festivals, like all days, were slow, measured, and predictable, blending seamlessly back into the steady work that defined life on the farm. In this way, moments of rest and gentle celebration were absorbed without disruption. Life moves steadily, quietly, and without hurry. Tasks, meals, stories, and festivals all repeated, forming a soft, continuous rhythm that carried the family, the farm, and generations of farmers forward in calm, unbroken harmony. Life on the farm depended on simple tools and steady work. Each morning, the farmer inspected wooden plows, hoes, and sickles. Handles were smoothed carefully, edges sharpened with patience and care. Every movement repeated slowly, deliberately, step by step. The tools were simple, practical, and essential for daily life. Repairing and maintaining tools was quiet, repetitive work. Nails were checked, joints reinforced, wooden handles replaced when worn. The motions were the same day after day. Strike, smooth, lift, repeat. Each action was deliberate, unhurried, and necessary. The tools, like the farmer's hands, became stronger and more accustomed to repetition over time. Food was prepared with the same calm care. Grain was ground into flour, stirred into porridge, or kneaded into bread. Vegetables were washed, sorted, and cooked slowly over the fire. Meals were simple but nourishing: bread, legumes, porridge, cheese. The taste was plain, yet each bite sustained the farmer through long hours of work. Each motion of preparation, stirring, cutting, and kneading was deliberate, repeated, and slow. Children learned about tools and food by helping quietly. Boys carried water or firewood, practiced using small hand tools, and observed careful repairs. Girls assisted mothers with cooking, grinding grain, and storing food. Every task was repeated, observed, and absorbed slowly, step by step, motion by motion. The children became familiar with the practical rhythm of life on the farm. Evenings were spent checking tools, sharpening blades, and storing equipment safely for the night. Firewood was stacked neatly, buckets filled with water for morning chores. Everything was prepared with care, slowly and deliberately, ensuring the next day's work would proceed without interruption. Meals were calm and unhurried. Families ate together near the hearth, the warmth soft and comforting. Conversation was quiet, often about chores, animals, or the weather. Words were measured, soft, and deliberate, blending seamlessly with the rhythm of preparing, eating, and cleaning. Every task repeated, marking the steady passage of time. The work of maintaining tools and preparing food was continuous, yet slow and predictable. Every action flowed into the next. Repetition provided comfort. Step by step, task by task, the rhythm of farm life was absorbed and internalized. Nothing changed quickly. Everything moved slowly, deliberately, calmly. At night, the farmer lay down on straw bedding, hands rough and tired, body calm and prepared for rest. Sleep arrived easily, untroubled, as the rhythm of tasks, meals, and quiet repetition carried naturally into the hours of night. Tools and food, like the land and the seasons, remained steady companions in the slow, enduring life of the farm.